the M5 Superleggera out here. So we got both pork chops out. We have both fender liners out. All the door trim out. Front bumper clearly out. That's going to be replaced. That's sitting over there. That fender was one I got from a junkyard. I wasn't super happy with it. It's got a kink there and it's a little bit bent there. So I'm going to replace that with a better one I found tomorrow. I'm actually probably just going to leave that in the trunk because I'm going to have to take it off anyways to work on the pillar area. Turn signals out, headlights out, grills out, hood insulation is out, hood windshield washers are out. Those are going to be replaced with these 60 ones. Can also delete the headlight washer system while we're there. So you can see this is the area right here. This is pushed in, a little scrape there, and then there's a scrape on the side. This is pushed in. They're going to need to pull this corner slightly. So I'm bringing them a better fender so that hopefully will line up a bit better so that the lines will be consistent. Pulling this door hinge should straighten up the gap right here, which you can see, which I can basically fit my finger in. It doesn't sit flush because that's the door closed right there. There's a lip there. This door is going to be refinished. It's got some deep scratches. It's also just got some light clear coat failure type stuff from being in a junkyard. You can see clearly the shadowline trim is out. I'm gonna have to replace this one because I kinked the heck out of it on removal. I've got the door latch in, but clearly the door panel out. Window control so they can use that. I don't know if they'll need to remove the mirror. I'll let them do that if they need to. You can also see right here, there's actually paint flecks that I can scrape off right there. So again, that will need to be fixed. That spot weld is normal, so that's not a defect. It's just a spot weld from the chassis. Door itself is in pretty decent shape. It's had some vapor barrier work before, so I'll need to clean that up when it comes back, but I'm not super worried about it. Again, here's that scratch I mentioned. I taped off the holes in here because that will let water in into the sill panel here if you don't plug those up. Clearly the window gasket has been removed. Again, remove that trim. All the door trim is off, so this panel is going to be blended into. I don't think they're actually going to plate the whole thing. I'm going to pull this off in just a moment. Had to pull the seat out, to pull that trim out, to pull this thing out. Again, I will tape that up. I think it's about ready. M5 Superleggera at the moment. Then it'll be down to E39 source. We'll be doing, well, first things first, I already ordered a front bumper through Ryan. So that should be there on Monday, which thankfully is the day I'm dropping this off at the body shop. Also day off of work because it's President's Day. So this mounting point here for the fender is also pushed in. So that will need to be straightened out. This line technically is a little teeny bit bent. You can see it's like got some buckling up and down. Not a huge deal. That could be massaged back into place, honestly, by myself with just a hammer. I've got hammers in there. The hood's going to be completely repainted. I don't know if you can tell, but this has been painted once before, at least. And you can kind of see it because the grain kind of changes as you get down towards the front. So they're going to take that back to bare metal because it's got rust on the front. And then repaint it. Roundel anchors will need to be replaced. I left this fender on. It would take 5 minutes to remove it, so not a big deal. Once all that's done, we're gonna do some suspension work. Whole front end's gonna be rebuilt. I'm sorry, whole suspension's gonna be basically rebuilt. I have a word out to Olsen Motorsports, who rebuilds the JRZ dampers that came with this car initially. I have not heard back yet. Actually, here, you can better see the front end orange peel. That's kind of ridiculous right there. That's not factory. Anyways. So I got a word out to Olsen Motorsports, who rebuilds the JRZ dampers that are in the car. And they have not heard back from, I have not heard back from them yet, so I also have a contact, Lay Tran, who you may recognize from the M5 owners group. Lay apparently has reached out to a company in Ontario or Riverside, I forget which one, somewhere out in the Inland Empire. And that company supposedly can rebuild them, so if they are successful with that, I will drop those off there. Front lower control arms, front forward control arms, tie rods, center link, headers, welding to the catalytic converter heat shield repair because that's loose. Exhaust crack where the pipe joint is in the back will be repaired. At some point, I'm probably going to go for a Rogue X pipe. Not at the moment because it's too much else going on. And I don't think the Rogue X mates nicely with the 2B mufflers from what I've read online. So the 2B mufflers will need to have some sort of custom sleeve or something built there. I'd like to keep the 2B mufflers. I do like the tip design. I do like the fact that they're not visible from underneath the car. Not that I don't hate that on the Eisenmans, but I like the fact that the 2Bs aren't visible. And they're small and light, so. This pork chop has a little bit of damage to it. That is a factory original pork chop as far as I'm aware. I'll keep running it until it actually like cracks and falls apart. I do have a replacement. It's over in the storage shed at the moment. As eventually that'll be done. Once the mechanical work and drive the car for a while, I will take it back into the body shop and we're going to do that piece of rust there, gas cap rust, boot lid rust. There's a small piece of rust down there. There's a small piece of rust on that rear quarter. We'll have the wheels refinished when the suspension work is being done from Ryan's guy. So these are just filthy at the moment. They're not even, I haven't washed them in months, honestly. So yeah, that's where she sits. Anything else going on? Oh, center vent, some insulation in the rear deck when the shocks get redone. I don't know what the deal is with these JRZs. I love the way they ride, but if I can't get them rebuilt, I'll go with the Coneys and the Dynon springs. So, kind of annoying, but hey, that's where we're at. Forgot to mention, same time we're doing suspension work, it'll also be time for a thermostat, just because I think it's necessary, and the car runs hot. We might wait on that until after I do the radiator, expansion tank, lines. We're also going to be replacing the power steering cooler with an automatic transmission E39 transmission cooler, which is a thermostat regulated steering, the same type of connection over here. It literally, you unbolt the power steering cooler as it sits now, bolt in the automatic transmission one, and it runs the same fluid loop and has a thermostat in it so it doesn't overcool the fluid. Not that that would really be an issue for the power steering. Going to be replacing the auxiliary cooling fan in here because when it gets hot and exercised, the fan starts to clack against this and it makes a terrible racket that sounds like something has gone wrong in the engine. So that's reassuring. Unfortunately, those are like $215 now. Also going to be doing belt service. I've got a cracked pulley down there. It's got like a chip out of the front face of the power steering pulley. Replacing tensioners, making sure that's all solidified and good to go. It does have a little bit of a slight squeak just from like a rotational bad, idler pulley or something. So that'll be touched up. The heater valve here, in the valve control assembly, that is actually throwing a code in the DME, and that's probably because the motor brushes are worn out. So I bought a pack of new brushes. Also bought some heater control valve reseal things, even though I still get heat, but I just don't get enough heat. I'm wondering, honestly, if that's part of the issue, because that is part of the cooling system. So if the if the auxiliary water pump, which is what that's technically called, the heater pump, is not working, that takes hot water straight from the back of the heads. And I'm wondering if you have the heater control valves closed, but the pump not working, if it's not pumping enough hot water back into the radiator to keep it adequately cool. So because those lines come directly out of the center valley with the two lines that tee into one at the back. So I'm wondering if that's part of it. I don't know, we'll see. So that'll be rebuilt because I actually can rebuild those because the factory BMW part is $400 and something at this point. And I'd rather spend $40 and try to rebuild it. And if that doesn't work, then we'll spend the $400 because it's really not that hard to get to, just a couple lines. So we'll see if that works. Rear suspension is going to have some work. Obviously, dampers, like I mentioned earlier. Going to be replacing the H-arm bushings with some Lemforder E60 bushings, which I bought from a Facebook seller who takes the E60 parts and machines them down like 1.2 millimeters in diameter so that they can slide into the E39 bores, because they are slightly smaller on the E39 because it's a lighter car. So that should be a nice upgrade. We're also going to be reinforcing the rear subframe mounts with a polyurethane set that I bought from ECS Tuning. The rear control arms are going to be done. The rear ball joints will be done. The integral links will be done, even though those are fairly durable. Ryan's are still original. But while we're in there, we might as well just do them because they're like 20 bucks a piece, and just throw them in there and be done. I think that's about it. Yeah. So it'll be an exciting project. It'll be nice to have it running like new, basically. We're also going to be, so while we're doing the headers, I mentioned that we're going to be doing headers earlier, but we're also going to be replacing the power steering lines, high pressure, low pressure, feed and return, because those are going to be right next to the headers. I'm also going to wrap them in heat wrap. The headers will be ceramic coated. Then I'm going to wrap them as well. And I'm also going to probably build something to protect the heat, the ABS module here, because these lines, so those are ECS Tuning stainless steel lines right there, and they are both black from heat from stock headers. And if you add 4 times the amount of pipes back there, I don't even want to know how hot this is going to be. So I'm going to build some sort of aluminum heat shield, I think. If you look on YouTube, Paul Stakey Westinghouse, who's the guy who's done a DCT out of a M4, the F80, F82, M3, M4 swap with his F62. He's got a heat shield built right there, and it kind of comes around the back, tucks up close to this, and wraps around to here. And I think if we could build a little custom piece there, just bend up some aluminum, maybe some of that crinkly heat shielding that they use over the exhaust would look fairly factory. I think that would be a nice addition. Also, hopefully prolong the life of this, because I've replaced these in 2 other E39s, and I'm suspecting that this one will probably be not too far away. So we shall see.